right before this, it's so fucking hot. It was like 96 this afternoon. So I like throwing my hair up in a ponytail, getting semi put together, brushing my teeth, and I had my straightener turned on to straighten like just my bangs. And then I started brushing my teeth. And I was walking around my room, like adjusting things, getting ready for this. And I go back in to my bathroom and like go to move my straightener, and then my brain was like, the straightener is turned on. So then my brain, like, I stopped myself. Then the straightener starts to fall off the counter, and I went to catch it, and my brain again was like, stop, you fucking idiot, the straightener's turned on. So I was just like, ugh. And in all of, like, my brain sending signals to my hand back and forth about this fucking straightener,
Did you get burned so bad?
No, but I did just spit my toothpaste out, like, fully onto the floor.
It's more than a podcast, they're more than best friends. It's more than an hour of laughing and crying and then going back to laughing again. It's more than a podcast, they're more than ex-Mormon. It's the More Than Mormon podcast.
So I was like standing in my bathroom, holding my straightener by the cord. It's like swinging and like almost touching me, and there's just like toothpaste on the floor and like down my chin, and I was just like holding my toothbrush and my straightener, and I was like, what is going on? It's been a rough week. And then just now someone just left a nice comment on our Instagram, and I read it and just almost like burst into tears.
Yeah, you were almost crying.
I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling a lot of things. Clearly, just a single woman standing alone in her bathroom, holding a straightener,
with toothpaste running down her chin,
asking her brain not to burst into tears.
Oh my
it's a classic love story.
My god! Welcome back, my friends and a couple enemies. We have made a milestone in XMO podcast content. We had someone question us on Instagram. They never came back after we gave a response, and then someone totally came and asked us some ridiculous shit on TikTok, and it was so funny.
I was reading that. I was reading what they commented on our TikTok like really late at night, and I was like, I think I'm just tired and my brain's not processing what they're saying. And then I read it the next day, and I was like, no, I just don't know. I don't get it. I'm
just
confused.
Doesn't make any sense. So clearly, people are starting to listen.
But we're like legit now because we not only have fans, but we also legit. Have haters.
Yes.
Welcome haters.
So, welcome haters, lovers, all the in-betweeners. It's More Than Mormon podcast.
People who accidentally clicked on this, welcome.
Yep.
And I'm Meg.
Yep. It's been a hell of a week, you can tell from the toothpaste story.
Not to mention
it's going to be a scrambled episode.
I had to text multiple people to rearrange my afternoon because I ate too many cheese curds at lunch. It's like, that you live in the Midwest.
I'm dying. Yeah.
And you have to rearrange your day because you're like a child ate too many cheese curds.
Before we get into the details of our episode, we wanted to make sure we plugged the Trevor Project. We are doing a fundraiser / giveaway for the project. If you want to win a t-shirt, a sticker pack, a gift card, some other fun things, a pair of gorgeous earrings from Peach Beach Shops, all you have to do is go to the Trevor Project, donate any amount, even if it's just $1. Take a screenshot of that donation and then send it to our DMs on Instagram, and bam, you're entered to win.
Yeah.
It's really simple, really easy.
And
we've only had a couple people. I'm going to be real transparent. We've only had a couple people donate. So I plan on making a donation at the end of the 30 days. Not that it really matters who donates and who doesn't, but I would really, really love to see the people listening participate.
Had a couple of people enter, but not a lot, so your odds are pretty good right now. If you are interested in
Yes, if you
winning
are
things.
interested.
Free
Yeah.
shit is free shit.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
your odds would be pretty good.
And if you need some incentive to head on over to the Trevor Project, I'm gonna read you a few statistics that I took straight from their Instagram, so you're welcome to go and take a look yourself. LGBTQ youth of color reported higher rates of attempting suicide than their white peers in the past year. So to give everyone an idea of what that looks like, Native and Indigenous youth are 31% more likely to be contemplating suicide. White youth are at 12%. That's a huge difference. Black youth is at 21%, tied with multiracial youth. Latinx youth are at 18%. There's a lot of complex things that go into being an LGBTQ youth, and one of them is race. Systemic racism absolutely exists, and it does play a role in LGBTQ individuals and how they're treated in this community and how successful they are in their day-to-day life, because there's a lot of systems in place to keep these communities from experiencing the privilege that a lot of people listening are already guaranteed.
Yeah. And the Trevor Project, regardless of someone's sexual identity or their ethnicity or their race, or the Trevor Project helps young people, helps teenagers, and it helps young adults. And I think, we're not that old, but we can all remember being a teenager and being a young adult, and it's a tough time, and to not have
so hard
family support, to not have community support, or even to have some, but to still feel like you need extra help. And that's what the Trevor Project does, is they provide that for young LGBTQ people. So please donate to them. If whenever you're listening to this, even if it's not June, even if it's not about the giveaway, just donate or volunteer or see how you can participate in helping them help others.
Yep. And we need a lot of people to gather around these youth and let them know that they're loved and supported, and there's resources out there for them.
Definitely. Speaking of young people, so what inspired this? One of our listeners who reached out to us and just asked if we could talk about this issue, and we weren't planning on it, and I think for me that was because I have no background, no experience with it. We're going to talk about gay conversion therapy or reparative therapy today. So a little trigger warning if that's something that is hard for you. Feel free to skip this one and we'll see you next time. Or if it's something that you don't know a lot about, or you just hasn't been talked about in your world, then feel free to stick around and learn about it with us. But we got a message, and I guess I'll just read what they said. So they said, hello, I would just like to say love your guys' podcast. And I am an ex-Mormon and 18 years old. My family didn't accept me when I came out as gay and sent me to the ex-gay camp ran by the church. And I was wondering if you guys can bring this to light with how the church has so much shady stuff going on behind closed doors. They said, quote, I'm going to say this very bluntly, they were extremely rude and acted like we were not human and were very belittling of us. The only reason I remembered this is because of the quote that you cited in your previous episode, which I think would be the Elder Oaks one. They would make us read scriptures, and if we didn't memorize them, they were extremely mad at us and would go as far as to tell us we were going to the darkest pits of hell if we didn't marry a woman and have children. Along with basic health requirements, nothing was given. I was lucky because my mom got to see what was happening. I lost about 27 pounds and have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder and PTSD. And that's from an 18-year-old, a child, essentially.
18
I mean,
years
technically
old.
an adult, but also a teenager. And
This is not uncommon.
no, yeah, it's
Unfortunately.
hard to. I work with kids, and everything I do just kind of comes back to like imagining the kids that I work with experiencing these kinds of things. But it's scary to think that, you know, that there are children whose parents, in an effort to do what they think is best for them eternally, are willing to put them in a position or send them to a place that could cause them so much damage, like right now, right here, right now. I think if more people could hear stories like this one, they wouldn't send their children to places like this or encourage their adult family members to go.
Absolutely. To that listener, on behalf of the church that will more than likely never ever apologize to you, we are so sorry. You do not deserve to be treated that way. You're perfect as you are. You're whole. You're amazing. Incredibly brave for reaching out to us and being willing to even share just a piece of your story. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
And we love you.
Yeah, I would second that. We love you not just for listening, but just for who you are. I think, you know, we want everyone, but especially Mormon and ex-Mormon young people to know that there is safety and there's happiness and there is true joy outside of the church and outside of a religion that teaches you that there's something wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with your sexual identity or your gender identity or who you love or who you are. And you're welcome here. We're glad you're here. That being said, we wanted to just like have a chat about gay conversion therapy, or sometimes it's called reparative therapy. We both did a little bit of
same thing, not a friendlier term.
Sounds nice. Almost sounds better, but it's the same thing. So we've both done some research. I don't know. Did you have anything right off the bat you wanted to share?
Nothing to share. I will make sure it gets linked below. I was listening to a podcast episode on Mormon stories where Natasha Helfer Parker and John Dehlin sit down and talk about his findings when he did his study, which we referred to in an episode that is going to be released here shortly. I think on Monday.
Yeah, I think by the time you're hearing this one, it's probably already out.
By the time you're hearing this, it's probably already been out. And they were talking about reparative therapy, and it stems from anything as simple as the therapist, just talking to someone, maybe prescribing to medication, all the way to extremes, dangerous, harmful extremes, such as hooking people up to electroshock things. They would put them, trigger warning, attached to their penis, and they would play pornography, and anytime the person was aroused, they would be shocked. And from my understanding, that shock would get worse and worse. The science behind it is not supported by any evidence or any peer-reviewed studies whatsoever. Utah has made it illegal. For for youth to participate in this type of therapy. However, if adults feel like it's something they want to do, they can. However, it has absolutely no scientific backing. In fact, I believe if it's not 1%, it's like 0% of people who underwent this therapy said that their same-sex attraction had went away. Some did say that it maybe lessened, or perhaps their attraction to the opposite gender increased, but it never went away. And what we know about sexuality and gender now is that's really fluid. I think probably the most important thing for anybody to know about conversion therapy is that it's not supported by any scientific evidence whatsoever. And if you are seeing a therapist that is pushing their LDS belief system on you, they should be reported. That's also not best practice. If a therapist is a good therapist and you want your faith to be included in your therapy, a good therapist would ask you questions like, how do you feel when you pray? Do you feel like praying helps you? How do you feel when you go to church? Do you think that going to church helps you? They would never suggest anything that may biasly be attached to their religious views. And that's one of the big things about conversion therapy, specifically tied to the church, is that it's heavily, heavily connected, especially with LDS Family Services and the therapists that they hire. It's just really dangerous, and it's not safe. It's especially for children.
Yeah. The Human Rights Campaign website has a lot of information about it. And one of the things that I read today was that like every major medical and mental health organization in the United States like condemns the use of conversion therapy, including the American Psychiatric Association.
Yes.
Because it's not effective, and not only is it not effective, but it's harmful. And
it has negative effects.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I think if you're not aware of it, then you may not realize what an issue it could be. But currently, there is only 20 states where gay conversion therapy is illegal. And that's then there's outside of that, there's other like municipalities. No. You know what word? You know what I'm trying to say.
I'm picking up.
So there's other places in other states where it's been banned, but only 20 states have banned it outright, including Utah. But like Lena said, if you're an adult and you consent to go to like some kind of nonprofit or some kind of therapist and seek this out, then that's your prerogative.
Yep.
One thing that's interesting is in the church, I think the choices they give people experiencing same-sex attraction are so limited. It's celibacy or it's entering into a heterosexual marriage relationship.
And neither of them, generally speaking, work. Celibacy in particular is, especially because the church also teaches that masturbation is a dangerous sin. Celibacy, just no.
Yeah.
That's a no. And it is possible for mixed orientation marriages to work. If you're teammates, if you're friends, if you respect each other, if you know what's going on and you both consent and you have a love for each other, then absolutely. However, if all of that is not in the right place, it's not fair to either party to enter into a marriage, let alone a eternal one, without having the opportunity for their partner to have like a genuine sexual attraction for them. I just don't think that's fair or healthy.
No, I think everyone deserves to experience love and sex, whether those go together or not, for you as an individual. I think everyone deserves the opportunity to experience both of them in the biggest and most capacity that they want. And I think it can be hard to allow yourself as a member the freedom to explore your sexuality because there's so much fear connected with it. That even if you are a person who could say, well, I know that like my parents would still love me, at the end of the day, it comes down to like, you won't have the freedom to be who you are in heaven, in eternity. And I think when the doctrine teaches you that your sexual identity is eternally straight, even though on earth you may be experiencing something else, that there's no freedom to explore who you are or what makes you feel good or who you want to love, because what's the point? And I think if you want to be a faithful Mormon and you want to have that happy family, you can't even for a second consider trying to do it with someone who's, the same gender as you. And so much of Mormon doctrine focuses on the family that you have to make that choice. And most people have some understanding of their sexual identity very young. You have to make that choice very young about whether it's more important for you to have that, idealistic Mormon forever family, or to explore who you are and to discover your identity as an individual. And that's a tough choice for anyone to make. And to have, the church weighing in on that decision for you.
That's not agency. No. I'm pretty sure the handbook currently states that they encourage active Mormons who are LGBTQ not to accept like a title or an identity, like not to label themselves.
Well, I think that's why they use like the term like same-sex attraction. Because they're like, you can be attracted to someone of the same sex and still choose not to identify as gay. Which is true. You can choose to identify however you want. But I think it's because the church discourages people from being like super out and proud, even if you're celibate or even if you're in like a mixed orientation marriage. The church still doesn't want people to be proud of their same-sex attraction. Like they want to give it this label that it is essentially a sin or, some kind of trial or affliction. And so if you come into church and you're like, I'm a lesbian, then they won't kick you out, but I mean,
you're not going to be able to have a calling. The church, I don't know if it's the same now, but when the policy came out, they believed that in and of itself was necessary for church discipline.
Gay and married,
disfellowshipped, or excommunication. I'll have to double check if it was either just being gay and like going to your bishop and saying so, or if you're gay and you're married. Side note, that just reminded me about a TikTok that just came out about a gay couple.
I was gonna say,
married.
Did you see John DeLynn, my best friend?
And he went to church with his partner and they kept to themselves and they just wanted to worship however. And the bishop was like, yeah, we're ready to excommunicate you if you don't divorce your husband. That's happening right now. Right now. Currently. This isn't like a few years ago, like currently, like last week.
Yeah.
This past Sunday.
It makes me think of, you watch Queer Eye? So there's I think it's like one of their more recent seasons. They do a makeover on, I don't know the terms because it's a Lutheran church, but like a pastor, someone high up in a church. It's not a Mormon church, but it's like a Christian denomination.
Right.
And he's a gay man. And there's a really, really beautiful scene where Bobby Burke, who is my favorite of the Queer Eye cast, is talking about growing up religious and growing up gay and how difficult that was. And even in the episode, like, you can see how uncomfortable he is, like, being in a church. And it's not even, like, his church that he grew up in. And there's a really beautiful moment where this man, I'm going to use the term pastor, is talking to Bobby, and they're talking about their experience, and he says, this like, that, like, the church owes you an apology, and there's a good chance you'll never get it. But regardless of what the doctrine is, regardless of what the rules are, for the way that you were treated, you're owed an apology because you deserve to heal. And it's really emotional, and I cry. But as we've talked about, I cry a lot. It doesn't take much. But I think it's one of those things where there are individuals, certainly within the Mormon Church, but there are also other churches and other denominations, even leaders of other churches, who are attempting to heal those relationships that were hurt. While the Mormon Church is actively excommunicating people who are peacefully attending, sacrament meetings.
All are welcome, my ass.
What doesn't say all are welcome? Is visitors welcome?
True.
So you can visit, but
shit, touche. Okay.
Doesn't say what kind of visitors.
True. Just like that guy in his comment, like, what kind of gay people are we talking about here? You know what? We're gonna bring this up for a minute because he tried.
I don't even remember.
I'm assuming I don't know why I'm assuming that. I just get they assumed that the reason God would punish someone for being gay is also connected to what kind of gay person they are. And
what does that mean?
Murderer, abuser, a celibate gay. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're off your fucking rocker.
So a loving God who doesn't accept unrepentant murderers, abusers, etc. in his presence would violate the logic of your argument, correct? Which I think, yes. I think if I killed someone, my mom would still love me. She'd still visit me in prison.
I believe, for instance, Casey Anthony, I believe her parents know what happened to her daughter, and I believe that they're covering it up to save her ass. That's what I believe. I believe a parent who really truly loves their kid would still love their child regardless. I know parents, I'm a huge true crime person.
Oh my God, you really are.
I could name off so many cases where the parent has been the one to turn in their child, and they still love their child and support their child. That their love doesn't go away just because their child murdered someone. And I can guarantee that my parents would be disappointed, but they would still love me. And if
talk to
heaven forbid the murderer got out of jail and needed a place to go, those loving parents would take, like, what are you even trying to say?
Yeah, so what he's saying, what they're saying, whoever they are, it's not making sense, like, right off the bat. So then you responded, and you said, if God thinks that being gay makes someone unworthy to be in his presence, then he's just being an asshole. True. And then they said,
stand by that.
Retweet. Then they said, and shouldn't we specify what type of gay person? Promiscuous, monogamous, abusive, celibate. It's not one size fits all, is it? And I think this is what you're talking about, where it's like, they're trying to say, but we both just assume it's a man. That's, we got to work on our internalized.
It just seems like mansplaining. I have a lot of issues with the patriarchy. Yeah. I'm fucking working on it. But for now, in my brain, it seems like a mansplaining type of thing. Yeah, there's an energy. But I could be wrong.
I think what they're trying to say is, like, if you're gay and you're celibate, that's different than if you're gay and you're in a monogamous gay relationship, which is different than if you're gay and you're a promiscuous gay person. As if God's like, he definitely doesn't like gay, but depending on, like, how deep you go.
Exactly. So there's always points docked off for being gay, regardless of what kind of gay person you are. And then there's, like, a level of points depending on the type of gay person you are. So if you're a murdering gay person, that's, like, the max amount of points that will, like, be docked from your, like, lifetime point content, right?
You only get 10.
And then you only get 10,
10.
and then all of a sudden, but if you're like a good celibate, church-going gay person, well, then you get all 10.
Yeah, like the guy from Queer Eye.
Just kidding. You actually get 5 docked off.
You get 5 docked off just for being gay, and then from that, God, that's like your baseline.
Yeah, so if you sin any more past just being who you are, God has extra reason to keep you away from him.
Yeah.
Like you're a virus or something.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So then they say, no, I certainly was not saying that. I think about you saying that God's an asshole. I was questioning the logic that God isn't loving if he doesn't have any boundaries on who is in his presence. But let's think about this for a second, because I have issue with this word boundaries. Boundaries are something you set up to keep yourself safe. Yep. If God is all-knowing, all-powerful, has existed forever, will exist forever, our knowledge compared to his is like an ant compared to us. Certainly, there is almost nothing we could do that would make him be unsafe.
That would scare him.
That would trigger him to the extent that it wouldn't be safe for God's mental health to be around us.
Unless, my friend, you are saying that God is homophobic.
Right, which it sounds like God just doesn't like gay people, which goes back to
doesn't like
what
them.
You said, where
your God's an
just
asshole.
Kind of sounds like an asshole.
Yeah,
because once again,
sounds like an asshole.
My parents love me unconditionally, and I know that I could be a murdering gay person, and after I served my time, I would still be invited to Christmas. And Heavenly Father, Mormon God, is saying, I'll love you, but you don't get to be in my house. You don't get to spend time with my other children. You're certainly never going to meet your Heavenly Mother, who you have no remembrance of. And, I never want to see you again. I'll send my favorite kid, Jesus, to visit you on the weekends.
Yep.
And that is not unconditional love at all.
No, that's not unconditional.
God shouldn't need to create those boundaries for himself. If his love is pure and his love is perfect, then it shouldn't be able to be damaged by anything, especially not us breaking rules that he made up, that we have to follow his specific plan in order to be saved from the consequences of the rules that he made up.
And so I'm going to connect this to conversion therapy because I don't want to lose sight of why we're recording. But the church has actively, like we've discussed, participated in encouraging their gay members to go through this therapy. Hiring therapists willing to do it, encouraging members to go to these therapists. Mind you, bishops and stake presidents, unless in their personal life have gone through the training and education to be like a sex therapist or what have you, they have no training whatsoever to be able to tell someone to come get this type of therapy that is going to not only physically damage them, but emotionally and mentally as well. BYU did a lot of conversion therapy not that long ago, heavily participated in it. And if this is the one true church who is teaching a God exists with unconditional love for every single one of his children, then they would have never agreed that this is something that was okay. They would have known that this would have been dangerous. It seems pretty logical if you're going to hook up something to someone's body that will electrocute them over and over, that would damage them. You don't need revelation for that, right? Mm-hmm. So the church has never had a desire to love and support their gay brothers and sisters. And as we just talked about with the excommunication of this man who brought his spouse to church, minding his own business, hoping to worship God, they don't give a fucking shit about you. And that's absolutely disgusting. And for this sweet 18-year-old child who maybe experienced this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, to go through something that traumatic, what kind of loving God allows that?
In the name of, my parents wanted me to be a part of their forever family.
Yeah.
My parents didn't accept me as gay, so they did what they could to change it. Thank God his mom, came to her senses in a way and was able to see what was going on and was able to put her love for her child above the church. Her belief, whatever her beliefs are. I don't know her, but I think what you're saying is so true, and it just reminds me that in a way everything the church teaches is tactics for you to be able to, convert yourself in whatever circumstance to what the church believes is true. And setting it aside from being gay, setting it aside from same-sex attraction, or even like gender identity. Say, for example, that you have an addiction to coffee, which can be great for you, has lots of antioxidants in it, like provides you caffeine if you need a boost, is delicious, comes from the earth, whatever.
Helps you poop,
helps you get your day started when you've had too many cheese curds. Like, let's say you're someone who's,
oh no,
for some reason you're a member and you really like coffee and you've developed this habit of drinking coffee. In order to deal with that, if you went and talked to your bishop, or even just like you on your own as a member, like, what would your steps be? It would be to read your scriptures, it would be to pray about it, it would be to set goals for yourself, it would be to measure how long you could go without coffee, without thinking about it, without desiring it, and then, the ultimate goal would be to live the rest of your life without it. And that's how the church approaches everything. Everything that the church doesn't want you to do, it wants you to pray it away. It wants you to force yourself to go without it, even though you want it. And even though outside of church doctrine, there's really no reason that you can't have it. And I think that that's what's so frustrating, is that in the church there can be this mentality that being gay is like any other sin. And first of all, it's not a sin.
Nope.
There's that. But second of all, like, even if you believe that it is a sin, it's so easy as a Mormon to be like, well, I struggled with my coffee addiction and I overcame it by talking to my bishop and reading my patriarch and remembering who I am and praying, and the Lord gave me strength, whatever.
And it's just not the same.
And it's not the same.
Not even the same caliber. No. Not the same playing field. And you're so right. They are setting you up to never be that person ever again. Never even entertain the thought.
They indoctrinate you to convert yourself to changing who you are for the rest of your life. Whether that's the word of wisdom, the law of chastity, or your sexual or your gender identity, whatever it may be. The goal of the church is to prevent you from being and doing things that make you who you are.
Natasha in that podcast mentions when gay men were, undergoing this therapy, she said it was really interesting because a lot of them would start to display homophobic tendencies.
Crazy.
And is someone being homophobic any better than being gay? No. Take religion out of being gay or transgender, and there's no reason you can't be transgender and go get reassignment surgery. There's no reason you can't be gay and marry someone of the same biological gender. There's no reason or explanation for it. Bring religion in, and there's all sorts of complex issues. So the reason a giant population of people are forced into oppression and depression and suicidal tendencies is because of this loving God who loves them unconditionally and is providing these resources. Bishops, Stake President, LDS Family Services, who may or may not have a therapist willing to do what's best for these people outside of their religion. You know, the church is literally surrounding you with things to keep you boxed in. And, you know, this is not only cult-like behavior, but it is a sign of abuse. And, you know, I mean, honestly, this is such like a complex, you know, subject. It goes so many ways, but the church will send people who are masturbating to addiction recovery. And psychology does not say that there is an addiction to masturbation or pornography, but the church will tell you you're broken, you've always been broken, and you will always be broken because you are continually needing to repent for anything and everything. And if a part of what you're repenting for is just who you are, who your identity is, it's like me repenting for my hair color.
Mm-hmm.
I can't,
At
you know, I
some
can dye
point-
it, but it's still there.
At some point in time, we should react to the addiction recovery videos, specifically like the
Oh my
sex one would
gosh,
be
those
great.
are bad, you guys.
I watched those
Those
a
are
lot
so
on my
bad. That's a
mission.
good
I really
idea.
was like, they're longer and they're very well done. And as a missionary, I was like desperate for like any media content to consume.
Yep. Oh, you just
And you
go
only
through
have the
everything.
church
Yep.
library. So I've watched them a lot, but in an attempt to heal you or free you from your addictions to whatever it may be, the church wants you to become addicted to the spirit, to the
Yep.
church, to the doctrine, to even the Savior. And you can, as an adult, you can make your own choices about what you think is right and wrong. If you feel like you're masturbating too much, go ahead and work. You know, there's nothing wrong with a growth mindset, and you can do that for yourself.
Nope.
But if you go through the church, like Lena said, if you're going through a bishop, if you're going through your stake, if you're going through the church in any way, their end goal is not only to, you know, help you recover from what you're going through, but it's to replace it with a reliance on the church and on
Yes,
the
absolutely.
gospel and on whatever. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that when you are a member of the church, you support them financially and you give them power. And that's what the church wants.
Mhm.
The church cared about individuals. It wouldn't be excommunicating gay men for attending church peacefully with their partners.
It wouldn't be excommunicating anybody. That's not what Jesus would do.
Yeah.
You know, and the church really wants to be called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints until they start to truly make up for what they've done to LGBTQ people. I'm going to call it the Mormon Church. Because if they won't let someone who's trans pick a name that matches their identity, if that alone is so threatening to them, what makes them think they deserve to be called by their desired name? Literally no one. That's such bullshit. Like, get over yourself, Mormon Church. Stop trying to take people out of transparency and authenticity and into your fucking dirty little trap. Leave people alone. I'm so happy that it's banned for youth in Utah, but, you know, like we said, if you're an adult, you can totally, you know, opt in. And there's a lot of people listening right now thinking, like, what adult would opt into something like that? But that's the thing about the church, is that they're so powerful and they do things in such a way, you know, they brainwash people.
I mean, you and I opted into being full-time missionaries. And my mission, and I think I can speak for you, while having some really great moments, like, I was miserable on my mission.
Oh my god,
I was
so fucking
physically miserable. I was mentally not okay.
I was spiritually miserable.
I was definitely spiritually miserable. I was lonely. I was sad. I developed strange phobias because my body was just misplacing the anxiety I felt as an adult. I was 21 or 22 when I went on my mission. So I wasn't even like you know, not if you can go at 19 when you're a girl, 18 when you're a boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, as an adult who's
The
indoctrinated,
younger the
right?
better,
Got to get home so they can
says Joseph Smith.
get to marrying.
Yep. Yep.
But as an adult, when you're indoctrinated into something, when you're a part of a cult and you don't know that you're a part of a cult, you'll do anything for it.
And when you're, 17 or 18 years old, where you're like learning to think critically, but you're still like under your parents' thumb. And, if you're male in particular, there's a lot of pressure to go serve a mission. And, sometimes there's even like people getting blessings and being promised that their same sex attraction, I hate saying that, like that their gayness, like would just disappear if they serve this mission. And that's not how it works. And all of it is just so dangerous and harmful. And um there's also evidence and stories, firsthand accounts of what I would call like a cuddle party of adult men, sometimes married to women, as a part of this reparative therapy. We're like getting naked and like cuddling.
Sounds like a blast.
I think that sounds
it's not
amazing.
The route
However,
that I would go if I was trying
that
to.
tell me how. Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, what the logic would be of like, how would that make someone less gay? Like, I'm okay.
But
I'm just gonna be really blunt. Sorry, mom and dad. You put me naked with a bunch of women snuggling, I'm gonna have a great fucking time, and that would probably make me a little bit more gay than I am right now. I'm just gonna say.
And I think, well, okay, what's crazy is I today learned that initially, there was a belief in the scientific community, and I'm talking like, at least 100 years ago, if not longer, that homosexuality was like a medical
yes
condition. And
everyone thought that it was some sort of like mental illness.
Yeah, and there was a therapy or a procedure done where they would remove the testicle of a gay man and replace it with a donor testicle from a straight man in an attempt to turn him straight. And then when that wasn't working, then they were like, maybe this is more than just like a biological condition. It might be like a mental sort of psychological condition.
Oh but my god, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's
fuck.
One of those things where you hear it and you're like, that's barbaric. But like gay conversion therapy
so
today
barbaric.
Is barbaric. Like it is wrong in any sense to attempt to change someone else's
absolutely
not just identity, but like biological like predisposition. And to do it in the name of this is what God would want.
And if someone's brainwashed and coerced, that's not true consent. And if they're being told all of these things at church, and they feel like the only way to live with God again and to have true happiness would be to undergo this therapy and take the risk. Okay, so listeners, I did make a few posts. It was so short notice. I didn't expect anyone to, get back to us in time. We're still pretty small. But if you're hearing this and you yourself, or if you know someone and would love to like get together and share a story, we would be more than happy to interview you, anonymously or not. Like Meg said at the very beginning of this episode, we really don't know a lot about it. And there's a lot to learn and discover. And, people like Meg and I who have never experienced something like this, I almost feel like we shouldn't be talking about it. So I would really love to come back to this topic.
I feel like we need to put like a big label on this, that this conversation was based on, talking to this person
on
who
the email
us,
that we got,
and then a little bit of research we did like today. It's just us
we
having
want to make sure that this listener knows that we see them, we're making space for them, And so I would love to revisit this topic when we've had more time to learn and discover, and like I said, maybe share some, experiences. There's a lot of stuff that's already out there that I'll just have to dig into. So, if you're listening to this and you're like, they don't know anything, you're basically
You're correct. We know.
We don't.
I only have like half a page of notes today, and normally I have
Yeah.
quite a few. But even then,
and I'm,
the research we can do isn't the same as there are people who have experienced this and are experiencing this. And even if, you don't want us to necessarily share your story on the podcast, if you want to share your story with us to help us be more educated,
us,
then
absolutely, please. If you're like, hey, this isn't quite right, or they also do that, whatever, like, we're open to that, because like we said, we don't really know, and there's a lot of complexity, a lot of seriousness, a lot of harm. And so I'm just going to reiterate what I said at the very beginning. Reparative therapy, conversion therapy, whatever you want to call it, is not evidence-based. It has no scientific backing. It has been banned, made illegal, and a lot of professional associations have came out and said absolutely not. So if you feel like you need some sort of help because being gay or being transgender feels like an issue. Also, side note, I understand that being transgender is not the same as being gay. You can be transgender and be gay, but it's being transgender in and of itself is not, it's not the same. However, the church definitely likes to combine the two. So if you feel like you do need like some sort of professional help, the Mormon Mental Health Association has a lot of really great therapy options that will not do reparative or conversion therapy. There are therapists out there that are either currently or have been a part of the church, who have done hours and hours and hours of research and work to understand being LGBTQ. So there is help. Have your agency, but I would really, really recommend going to some of these other sources before or even in place of entirely speaking with your bishop. There's a lot of support for you out there.
Yeah, I think
we want you to get the help that will benefit you the most.
We always, unless you know your bishop and love your bishop as an individual, we're always skip the bishop. Even if they mean well, and I think most bishops mean well.
Most do.
They
Absolutely.
don't have the resources, and they often don't have the background, the training, the experience to help you with whatever your specific need may be at that time. I've even gone to bishops and just been I'm having a hard time in my relationship or in this friendship.
I'm feeling depressed.
And not gotten
the
help that I needed, because they're, at the end of the day, unless they happen to be a medical professional who is called to be a bishop, odds are that they're not a medical professional, or they're not a licensed therapist or counselor, and you deserve to have help from someone who is qualified to give you help, in addition to whatever religious or spiritual help that you choose to seek out. So skip the bishop 9 times out of 10.
Basically.
And if you listen and if you were heartbroken by the story that we shared, and if you've listened to this and you thought, that you want some way to help, that you want some way to participate, donate to the Trevor Project, because they do provide quality resources to young LGBTQ plus individuals.
They'll take great care of them. It's an amazing resource, and they really, really need our support. I think we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, follow. More of our listeners are not subscribed than not. So I don't know what you're doing if you're spending an hour plus listening to us bitch about the church per week. give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe. It really doesn't do anything but make us feel happy
and it's a good idea to subscribe too, because we've been recording more episodes that aren't always going to come out on Mondays. Just because we have a lot to talk about. So if you're subscribed and you have like your notifications on, then you'll know about them rather than just happening to see them on Mondays.
Yep. And also, if you're someone who just feels like you want to support Exmo content and get it out there so other people have, you know, a place to go for some refuge, you know, liking it and sharing it will boost that algorithm.
Leave us a review, you know, if you like us.
Yeah, do it. We're just one little More Than Mormon family. So please like, subscribe, share, follow. We love you so much.
We love you so much.
Happy fucking Pride.
And fuck Elder Oaks.
Fuck Elder
We
Oaks.
should just keep adding that in.
I'm still on that. We should add that. Just like every week, just like a new general
This person
authority.
reaching out to us was like, oh yeah, when you shared that Elder Oaks quote, I was remembered of my deep trauma.
That quote has sparked a lot of it triggered a lot of people for really unfortunate reasons. You know, there's a reason we talked about it. So.
And Elder Oaks, this is my own personal soapbox. Elder Oaks is so high up that he is in line to be the next prophet. Unless he dies next or they change something, like he will be the next prophet of the church. He will have influence over millions of people, and he is preaching hate.
It's going to get so much worse.
So, Elder Oaks must be stopped. At the very least, spread the word that people shouldn't be listening to him.
Yes. Shit, for real.
Listen to us instead every Monday.
We're way more entertaining. Don't you think?
Yeah.
We look better at the fucking least.
I mean, I dry shampooed these bangs twice today, so...
I took a shower right before I came. I mean, you can look at this crazy hair for proof. Anyway.
We love you.
Okay.
We'll see you next time.
We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the More Than Mormon podcast. If you made it this far, then you're definitely worthy to enter the Telestial Kingdom. Wait, is that the good one?